All right. So, hey everybody out there in Twitchland. This is your game master, your dungeon master, your fungin master, your blungin master. I don't know. Is there something there? Can we work it? Maybe. We're gonna figure it out. This is Jeff here, back once again, reprising his role as you're just some guy who speaks on a microphone.
The gentleman, the skeleton. No, wait, wrong guy.
Wrong guy. No. Don't call him out. Yes.
No, I went through enough with that guy.
Yes. And today on our fun little let's get hyped talk show called, of course, No Dice. We have our longtime alum, our one-time editor, our two-time player of the month. I don't know.
And three-time blockbuster champion.
Oh, three-time blockbuster champion. That's right, 98 and 2004. Yes, Blockbuster was still around.
Yep. I actually recently
that.
in 2019 won the one in Portland. You know, that's still.
It's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's how I got the third.
That man, of course, is Randall.
Hi.
You may know him by his Twitter handle. Randall, shoot him with your Twitter handle.
Argo Omega.
That's right, Argo Omega. He's a big part of our Torchlit Tavern world. You see him on our regularly scheduled Twitch game that we play here with myself running it. Yes, myself. I'm doing the things. Yes, and he, as I said, is a longtime alum of the podcast that we've been running, and I'm gonna have him on today. We're gonna discuss a little bit of the podcast stuff. So if you don't know about our podcast, I do recommend you go look it up. That's Torchlit Tavern. You can find us pretty much everywhere, but you know what's easy to watch us on Spotify. It's great. Well, not watch, listen. Whatever.
That's what I actually watch. I actually watch a show on Spotify.
You can do that? Wow.
Yeah, Spotify is like the best for me because I can just bookmark it, so it alerts me every time a new one comes up. You know, download it and just listen as I go.
Oh yeah, Spotify is where I listen to all my podcasts personally. Sponsor us, Spotify.
Sponsor us. Let's sell out quicker.
You'll never see anybody sell out quicker than me. I'll tell you that much right now.
We're buying in. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I like to listen. But hey, maybe you like Apple Podcasts. Maybe you like YouTube. We got all of our stuff on YouTube as well, including where this will eventually go. But we do it bi-weekly, which is every other week, not twice a week, because it can mean both, on our Twitch channel, interchanging with our normal Twitch Dungeons and Dragons game. So if you're watching this on YouTube right now, know that you could watch it live and comment about how fucking crazy good my mustache looks, because it's
pretty fucking
good. It looks pretty good today. You know? Anywho's, Randall, welcome. I want to start off this by saying we just got through, and by just, I mean it's been a little while. We've had some time to cool down about it.
Yes.
Had some time to be like, we're finally out of there. But we did kind of just get through a whole campaign.
Oh, it was a long one.
The unicorn of the Dungeons and Dragons world. We did it. We finished a campaign. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. And we did it together all the way up until almost the very end. But you know, I think that the way Randall's character finished out, even though he didn't make it to the very end, it was still chef's kiss. It was the perfect moment. Tell us about how that felt for you.
Honestly, I kind of fell in love with the idea. As it got closer and closer, I started realizing, like, the character was always trying to, like, be there and be in the shit and be in the center of it, and that kind of came at the cost of his personal relationship. So for it to end with him going, no, I need to take care of my people and the things that I can take care of. I'm just a dude. I'm not power. I'm not a fae. I'm not a blessed by a god with a crystal eye. You know, I'm just a dude. I'm just doing my best, and it's hard.
Every group needs just a dude, and for sure, Dillon was just our dude. Not in the beginning, of course.
No, he was. That was
a different time.
Wild as fuck, considering the fact like the character almost died episode 20.
Yeah,
like that's so wild to me.
I do have a question for you concerning the ending, because as we've discussed, like that ending did end up being great, and it was just it was good, and like a little peek behind the curtain, we all talked about how we thought maybe we were going to end up and figured out possibilities for all of us. But before all that, before we got too close to the end, what did you see Dillon's ending being before all that, and how far off were you, or were you pretty close?
As it got closer, I want to say during like the war arc when we were marching and we were learning a lot about what was going on back home and everything. I'll be honest, I felt like what happened, the ending with talking with Julie and talking with Sandra and everything was gonna happen. I wasn't sure if that was gonna be the ending of it, but I did talk to Jay a little bit, and I was like, well, is Julie gonna try and kill Dillon? And Jay was honest with me. He's like, I don't know. It could happen. And I was terrified because at that point I had like 8 different organizations trying to kill my ass for shit I did. It was well deserved. It was definitely deserved. But it was like, fuck, if Julie kills Dillon, that's heartbreaking. You're muted, by the way.
Oh, sorry. I pressed the button. It doesn't always press right. Anyways, that's true. You were on a bunch of people's personal hit lists, including several of your co-conspirators.
Yeah. Roy throughout the game was always like, I don't want to kill you.
And I also want to be the one that does it, you know?
Yeah, like, if it's got to happen, tag me in, coach.
Yeah, I mean, it got really hairy there for you. Definitely. It got to this point of being like, what's around the corner? And you know, applause, all the applause goes to Jay, because he still found a way to just like surprise me, you know, around each and every corner, where I was like, you know, son of a bitch, really? This?
Oh yeah, like the stuff with like Akara and all that, I had no hand in. That was Jay. Like that story that connected him to like the orcs and stuff like that. That was Jay's brainchild, and it fucked me up. I was like, holy shit. Because originally, as Dillon, I thought Akara was dead and buried. You know, that was the end of it. It was backstory, right. You know, or, you know, maybe one day he could bring her back or something like that, right? But Jay's like, no, not only is she alive, she's the one that's doing the one thing you hate more than anything else, which was hurting and sacrificing kids.
Yeah, you know, there's a couple. Every decent human being has to have a couple lines, and that's a pretty common one.
Oh God, it was.
It was quite the bitter pill. Even from the sidelines, you know, I was like, oof.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I will say though that the cultist did give us one of the best things ever, which was Thug Bruce. Thug Bruce was truly introduced when we raided those cultists, and he brought out the sledgehammer, broke shit down, was just marching through.
That's true. We didn't really see a lot of Bruce as a thug. Oh, he was only alluded to as a thug.
Yeah.
Until those moments where he was really like, yeah, I'll break into your house and I'll fuck you up. Like,
wait, I just remembered also Bruce's enemy, the fucking cast iron stove. That he
his worst nemesis, the cast iron stove.
What was that about? I still don't understand it.
We'll never know. We may never know. That, you know, maybe that'll be a question. You know, I should start taking questions from you guys, and I'll when you
get Mitch on this, find out, because he did like 3 or 4 checks trying to pull that bitch off. He was fucking stubborn.
Yeah, he was so on it.
Oh God.
Oh man, that was hilarious too. But So here we go. We made it through it. Who's this is a fun one that I hadn't had an opportunity to ask Jay. So this is a question just for you specifically so far, and maybe we'll get into asking other people because the show will go on. Anyways, I ramble. Whose ending, other than your own, were you most satisfied with? As we got to the end, who was it like? Oh, finger licking good,
I know in the game I bitched and moaned because it was really sad, but I really loved Bruce's ending. Bruce's ending, it took me at my knees in character. It out of game. I was like, fuck, man, I don't get to play with Mitch anymore. And I was like, fuck, But at the same time, I was like, it's so perfect. It's exactly what he told us was gonna happen, like episode 3. It's.
Yeah, he really delivered on a promise that he put in front of himself and in front of all of us, really, and including the listener.
Yeah.
And for that payoff to come through and that moment,
he's a son of a bitch.
It was good.
He's a son of a bitch.
He's a son of a bitch.
Though
I mean, Bruce ended up being everybody's favorite character. I don't care.
No, I know. Kill me, save the Bruce.
It was. I started this whole thing as a listener, and Bruce was odds on my favorite character straight out the gate. I was like, this is great. Mitch is just killing this character. He's so flushed out. He's so lived in, and that's a skill that Mitch really has.
Yeah.
With his characters, is to really make them feel like, when he puts the time into it, he makes them feel lived in. He makes it feel like this is a well-run character, even if it's this is level 1.
Yeah, and oh my god, I remember that moment because we were all so surprised by it because we weren't informed. We just the recording that we gave to them, that the listeners enjoyed and took in with us. That was legit. That was our first reactions. He was still when that started, he was in the call, and then when we weren't paying attention, he dipped like a dickhead.
Yeah.
And it was so good. And I just remember us taking a small 2-minute break as we it played out and we realized it, and we all went, fuck you, Mitch, fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you,
because all of us just got punched in the heart. Fuck
you. You're gonna make this whole thing harder for us in so many ways. Fuck you.
And then that's when I leaned into more of a tanky build for the ending.
Yeah, well,
for the last few.
It definitely wasn't gonna be Grim. I'll tell you that much.
Oh no, I love Grim, by the way. I think that's probably my second favorite. No shade to Roy, but Grim was such an asshole. And I loved him for it. Yeah. He was a prick. He played a Fae. He was a Fae.
I did my best. I really did.
He's a little dickhead, and I love him because he's a little trickster. He's a little smart ass because he's like, I've been around longer. It's like, well, fuck you. But no, the ending
after he learned what longer was, of course.
Yeah. And but he was at that ending. I wasn't sure that's how that you were gonna play it out, and then when you did, I was like, that's fucking perfect. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'll tell you straight. I wasn't 100% certain going into that ending either, where I was going to take it. Mm-hmm. But I'd laid enough groundwork for Grim, saying that he didn't want somebody who didn't fully understand it to take it. Mm-hmm. Somebody whose fight this was, they'd only adopted. Mm-hmm. And specifically that meant Roy, and he offered it to the people who he thought could handle it, but upon seeing them either deny it like Evan did, or proving that they could barely handle it if they could, like Pan did.
Yeah.
He made what seems like the only real choice, and after seeing all that he had seen and going through all he'd gone through, with all the acknowledging the change that had already happened in him, it emboldened him to the idea that change wasn't as much of a death as it was, as he had thought it was.
Yeah. And
So,
I think you played that really well, especially with the slow build into it. You're really good at that slow, like it's inching. I'm like fighting for inches in conversations with you in character, but when you give just an inch, I'm like, yeah, fuck, yeah.
yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes you gotta play that. You gotta play that stubborn character, and I think that's definitely what Grimm ended up being, especially because, like you said, like at a certain stage, he understood that he understood more than everybody else, and when you know you're older and wiser than everybody else, for a lot of people it becomes just harder to listen to other people, because at the end of the day you have learned a lot more lessons than other people. You just have.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you can't be surprised, but it means it's hard to be surprised, like legitimately. And like, so when you get there, unless you work decently hard at it, you're gonna be that kind of guy. You're gonna be that kind of person, guy, girl, whatever, where you're just like, you know, everything's gonna be a battle of attrition, a battle of inches. Because listen, I've been down a lot of those roads. I don't know. You think I don't know what you're talking about, but I do. And eventually you might hit that person with something that's like, oh, okay, now this is new. You know, especially someone so stuck in their ways. You know, when Jay talked to me about Faye, he was like, they are what they are. That is it. And I was like, got it. Yeah.
Oh, God.
So I felt like I really had to play that out.
It was good. You committed to it. I loved it.
I appreciate it. I really do. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to talk. I love talking.
Oh, yeah. Especially with the late entry, too. Like, it was Strana, I think, came in around episode 8 or 9. And he came in and I want to point out the fact that you and Strana had mirrored ways of entering almost. Like, for me, at least, as the player. Because the Strana game, when he was first introduced for everyone, I was an episode before and I missed that due to scheduling shit. And I think it was college or something. But I missed one episode, and then the next episode, Papanopoulos was there. And when he rolled up, and Dillon, as Damon at the time, is given the runaround to the Thieves Guild because they're trying to interrogate him, but nothing he says is a lie, so they're like, fuck you. He's just giving them a long-winded runaround and just killing time until he can leave. And I just remember like Bob was getting annoyed by other things, so his response to I'm just gonna leave the room is hammer this motherfucker. And I'm like, what did I do? And then with Grimm, you know, you were a body left on the church, and we were so confused, like in character. So we're like, we'll take him to the morgue, I guess. I grabbed the hat because it's a dope hat, and I'm like, fuck it. And Dillon at that time was a little scavenger, a little weasel boy who would just pick shit up and like, oh yeah, this is mine now. Right. And so he put the hat on. Grimm reforms, waking up, and we're like, what the fuck? Pulls a sword, and I'm like, this is getting old.
Well, you know, from Grimm's side, it was definitely
yeah, totally.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. And that's you know, moments like that are great when you're able to like really stick into character and be that thing. Like I think we both ended up doing that pretty well, of like, this is how this character would respond. Like, because that may not have been how like you or I would respond in those scenarios, right? But like that's how they respond.
I think me or you would just go, "Hey man, sorry about that. Can I have my hat back?" But
hey, whoa, didn't mean to scare you there, bud. But I need that hat.
Hat, please, thanks, bud. But Grimm, the prideful lord of the Fae, so this motherfucker stole my hat.
Well, yeah, and he comes and he was like, "Man, please have my hat," which is not the first thing you hear when a skeleton starts talking to you.
You don't expect a voice,
right? So you know.
Which, like I think my response was, what the fuck?
You know, I think both sides of that really ended up being who they were, and I like moments like that where they just read. You know, it really did set a tone for like who Grimm was to a certain extent, and how Dillon was going to respond to that.
Yeah, especially considering I think that was like, God, that was shortly after the heist and everything, and we were all still getting settled in. So actually, I think that was after the royal dinner. I think it was just after that royal dinner. So it was
Yes.
a few episodes after the heist. So Dillon is already having like this weird crisis of faith of like, I gotta be a person now. This is bullshit. And I loved it. It was just so funny. And I think I said afterwards, I looked at Jay and went, why does everybody got dick waggle at me? Like, I get it as Randall, but like, what the fuck? This writing.
And it just is what it is.
Yeah.
But
and then I steal crabs and create a giga crab later.
Yeah, that was a whole thing.
Okay, speaking of the ending, that was a mistake on my part.
So, like, speaking of how he found a way to surprise me, Giga Franklin, I knew he was gonna do something with Franklin. Don't get me wrong, I did. I saw the writing on the wall, but Giga Franklin was not what I thought he was gonna do with Franklin. Though, another fun little slip in there. Let's surprise him. Let's give him a sort of Easter egg. Is the talking version of goddamn Roy's cat.
Yeah.
He just talks to him real quick. It's just like almost an Easter egg moment, like I say, where like it's a blink and you'll miss it. But that cat talked.
Yeah. I think that was the general response, was either shocked silence or did that?
That must not have happened. Let's move on.
Yeah, it was so like quick. Which still, that cat might be one of my favorite characters because it has one of the highest body counts in the campaign, because the Christmas episodes are technically canon. And he kept getting Groundhog Day'd and killed by that fucking cat over and over again.
Oh, absolutely. It was fantastic. Oh, loved that.
I think that holiday special is probably my favorite of the entire series.
That holiday special was a lot of fun. Grim blew up children in that one. It was pretty great.
But Dillon killed Roy when he killed Franklin because he got tired of it.
Yeah, it was wild.
Touch my
we definitely had some good times. You know, wrapping up that campaign was a lot of fun, and spending the time and you know, making the friends, and you know, we could get all mushy and gushy here, but I think I did enough on the podcast itself.
Public, I told you that's only for the bedroom.
Of course. Stop giving me those bedroom eyes. Anyways,
I can't help it. It's insomnia.
With that being said, as we finished it, as we got wrapped up, we got some really good stuff. It leaves the world in an interesting place. I have some questions, and I know you have some insider information, and I don't think, you know, use whatever discretion you think is appropriate. But with that being said, leaves the world in an interesting place, this whole thing, and we're gonna come back to it, or you know, in some iteration thereof, we will be coming back to it.
It's Jay's world. We're not leaving that fucking thing alone.
Yeah. So, what are some of the questions, or what are some of the things that are left after all of it that stick with you, like whether that's questions you have or curiosities, or like things that you personally are going to be on the lookout for in this next campaign?
I think a couple things, honestly, but one of the ones that really caught me was Jay introduced tieflings, like a first generation of tieflings, right? With the Inquisitors and that kid we saved from the mech. You remember that one?
Yeah.
And that was, I think the kid's like the second generation now or some shit. I remember asking about it after that game where I was like, what the fuck was that? But I think, one, the impact of the devils on the world, and then like what the gods' response are, because we saw a lot of the devil side of things. I'm very curious how Jay's going to play out the like god side, because, you know...
Yeah, that's an interesting take.
Yeah, because we saw a lot of devils. Like, we saw devils and fae. Those were the big two. But when it came to, like, godly stuff, it was mostly just Newman. And even then, it wasn't Newman. It was the paladins primarily. And we... And, also, of course, of Vespra, who is the real homie. and I'm still sad I wasn't allowed to be a nun. That for the listeners, that was originally what Dillon was going to be after the heist. I asked, I was like, "Can I be a paladin of Vespra?" And Jay went, "That doesn't really track right now in the lore." Maybe in future lore, but right now it doesn't really track. And I went, fuck.
I love that. I know that you talked about it with him several times throughout the campaign, and I didn't know you'd started that early though. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I originally was gonna say, because Jay, this is a little insight. After the heist episode where Dillon exploded, we wanted to leave it kind of open to see what would happen. Me and Jay drove down to a little restaurant. It was me and him. He was taking me home. It was a little restaurant. We sat, we talked for a bit. I think we just had like something small, like fries or some shit. And we talked for a bit. He's like, "What's the plan for where you want to take this? What do you want to do with him?" Like, and I was like, "Well, what's your input? Do you think he should stay dead? Because I mean, that's a pretty decent redemption arc, just really compressed down into 20 episodes." And I still think the first 20 episodes, sans the my poor editing and learning on the first 5, it's one of my favorite arcs. I love it. It was so good, so pure, and everyone wanted to kill me. It was great. But yeah, we sat down. I was like, "Well," I was like, "Do you want him to stay Warlock?" He's like, "How would we even do that?" I was like, "Well, we could always go the God one, which is the Warlock, the Celestial path." And he's like, "What god would you even want to be tied to, though, after all that?" I was like, "Vespra?" And then I was like, "Oh, hell, I could be a paladin as Vespra." And he's like, "That doesn't quite work." And I was like, "Well, fuck." And I looked at my stats, and I told him I'm not going to reroll my stats. I didn't want to reroll my stats.
That makes sense, yeah.
Because it's
what
still
you are.
Yeah, and which was a bitch later on. I ate my words later when I wanted to be an Eldritch Knight. That fucking was rough. So I sat there. I was like, "Well, fuck. What do I be?" And I was like, I could be a fighter, but Mitch is already running a fighter, and I don't want to step on toes. Was a big thing for me. Ryan told me though that he was going to lean more Warlock than Rogue, and I was like, I think I could do Rogue and figure it out from there. And I realized I had a decent Wiz score, and I had a decent Dex score, so I went, fuck it, Inquisitor. Dillon likes moving shit around and finding what's underneath, even if it's a landmine. So fuck it. And that's kind of how Dillon became the Dillon we met, was because, yeah, you didn't even know his last name at that point. You didn't have shit.
Yeah, that was real base Dillon. That was just starting to sort it out.
It was funny though, because with the story reason why he was a rogue was because Dillon used knives as his kind of primary tool when he was a warlock, and it was just basically established that it was like, he's good at one thing now. He used to be good at a few things. Now it's the one.
He's good at the one thing. What's the one thing? He knives. He knives
stabbing
things.
a motherfucker.
He does the stabby McStab. He's a sorcerer, stabber, orphan.
Yeah,
plugged
exactly.
to an anime that I've never watched. Anyways, yeah, that's it's funny to see that development, right? It's funny to think back and look at those moments that became something. And I think, like, to me, on the flip side, it's funny to look at the moments that, because I think Dillon had a lot of moments that became something, right? In one way, shape, or form or another. And I think Grimm had a more than a few moments that didn't become something, that I was like, this will be one of those moments that will be a thing. And then I was like, well, no, it's not. You know, like the obvious, right, is the pulling out the sword that became nothing. The first time I pulled out that sword, to me, just ended up being like a whatever, move on. Like, it's a teaser, right? As well as, like, a lot of the moments that, like, to me really stood out as the player for Grimm, especially for his development and growth. And then, you know, talking to Jay later, like, hey, do you think you've grown at all? And I'm like, hey, listen, I feel like I've had a lot of moments that have established the growth here. He's like, well, I don't know if I see it all the time. I'm like, this hurts me.
He did have a point, because Grim was a stubborn ass, and he refused.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He refused to ever say the words "I'm wrong," and that will confuse the fuck out of everyone. He hated. I feel like he was allergic to that phrase. I feel like he just starts sneezing uncontrollably. that sweet fey pride, you know.
Oh yeah, that sweet fey pride really. It's a dangerous thing.
Oh yeah, and we saw it like at the end with Evan, you know, during the mine shaft escapades with the dwarves and everything, where you had you guys had a really rough in character conversation. It's like a son yelling at their father, basically, and it was so good. It felt right. It felt built. It felt like, yeah, that, you know, fucking Evan's tired. Evan's probably been awake for too long, and he's finally broken down and said, "No, fuck you."
I mean, that was the moment, right? That was the moment for me that really solidified that stuff, right? Where, hold on, had to get that out of my system. That really solidified stuff like this idea that I felt like I had these moments that like established things. Like, and if you were a fan of Grimm, and man, if you're watching this on YouTube, I hope you make some comments here. If you happen to be a Grimm fan, if you happen to listen to all of them, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
And if you're a Dillon fan, who the fuck are you?
There's a couple Dillon stands out there.
Yeah, I had a fun fact. I had an essay written about Dillon privately.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's a true thing.
There was an argument had about Dillon being a good boy or not, because it was kind of originally started off as a sarcastic thing, but it became a thing. I loved it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like that moment right there, right? That moment where we talk, and so sorry, I got all these things going on in my actual life. I'm a big old busy son of a gun, but to sort of track back, it's like we had that moment, and to me, I was sitting in that moment going like, you know, we took a pause during it, I think, or even before it, where I was like, where Jay really laid it bare, like, this is how I feel this character feels towards you, and I want you to know that. And I had to be like, to me, again, this is where I was going. To me, if you'd been paying attention to Grimm's story, like if you cared about Grimm's story, like not to say that y'all weren't paying attention, but like if you cared about it, like you could see these moments that stood out. Like this is his growth, and it's not happening in miles, but it is happening. And like he's establishing things from this point and this point and this point, and this has already been established. And he said these things, but he doesn't like to reiterate that stuff. He doesn't. You know, it's weird for him to even acknowledge growth in the first place.
He's like that older dad, you know, from an older generation that doesn't like talking about his feelings much. So he doesn't really say it. He tries to just do minor things like that shows it, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Which I liked. I liked it. It was frustrating at times, which I always expressed in character.
Right.
Where it was like, Grimm, what the fuck, dude? But it was I love his journey. I think it was a great contrast to like the human side of things, quote unquote human, because I was the only human. And considering the only reason I was human is because Dillon, fun fact, was created entirely by rolling dice. I rolled the dice for his race, class, patron, fucking everything. I was rolling dice for everything. Even his like background, rolled for what that was, got entertainer. I was like, okay, what are these little attributes on the side? Fuck it, let's make a randomized character. Because Mitch told me it was a good idea. I had no idea what I was doing with this character for like the first 5 episodes.
Well, you definitely did get a hold on it at some point, and that and you know, it went somewhere. It really did.
Yeah.
You know, All right. I don't want to. I want to make this one a little brief, only because I do have a lot of stuff happening in my home life and so on and so forth.
And we can always come back and do this. I got.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, at this point, I'm gonna make it an official thing. The no dice guarantee is that that Randall's probably gonna come back because Randall's a great man he's relatively available and a great man to bring on every now and again. We'll have a weird conversation about weird things.
Well, me and you like talking too much. That's the problem.
It's a problem. That's why I can't have you on too much, right? That's
we'll be here too long. We'll be here too long. We'll get into what's your favorite vegetable?
You know what? It happens with me and Jay too. That first No Dice, if you haven't watched it on YouTube, we went for a while and we planned to just do it for an hour and be done.
Yeah, I saw the time on it. I was like, these fuckers.
But I'm not trying to rush us off, but just to say that we are going to be, we're definitely, to let the audience know, the few that are there, thank you for being here. Obviously, we love you big time. Much support. But
it's getting kind of late. And...
Yeah, we will be running towards the end here soon. With that being said, okay, this is a big part of what we're doing here on No Dice right now is we're in between campaigns in the podcast, right? And I love having conversations about what the end of the podcast was, but I definitely want to start going into conversations about what the beginning of the next one's going to be like. And with that being said, I already asked you what are some of the things you're looking forward to, and you really hit me with something that I did not expect, because even though we know, well established, if you watch a little bit of spoilers, that gods can't directly touch this material plane, what are they going to do in response to these devils, right? So what, and I do not think that Jay has introduced Azamar into his...
That's what I was thinking too. I haven't
into his world yet,
dude.
So that's a whole thing. That's a whole tip to just spin on for a while,
dude. I want Aasimar. I want the Scourge ones that blow up in light. I want the fallen Aasimar. I want them all.
My brain's gonna chew on that for a while. Let's see what that turns into.
Hey, Jay, if you're listening, fuck you. You got stuff to think about.
Yeah, let me tell you.
God, can't wait for the next campaign.
As long as he doesn't bring in Slod, those are mean.
We might want to edit the puck. We might want to edit this.
Quick, edit that out.
Yeah.
We don't have an editor? What do you mean this is live? Fuck!
We gotta fire Ryan. He can't edit live broadcast. What the fuck? What fucking bullshit cable network are we on?
That's a good damn question. All right. It's a good damn question. So that's a great tip to spin on right there. That's a great thing for our minds to chew on as me personally and as listeners, but okay, I'm gonna give away a little something that I don't know if I'm supposed to give away, but I'm gonna say that Randall, I don't know if the world knows, but next campaign, one of your beautiful characters will not be joining us.
I know. Did they not know?
I don't know if they know.
I told you guys I was going to go live in a fucking cabin at the end of that campaign. I'm not leaving. Fuck you.
I mean, and that is not to say that Dillon will not reappear at some point. Yeah, we may find him in the next campaign. But with that being said, even though you're not going to be joining us with a brand new character, I want to know, a little bit about what's on the horizon, and you could talk about my character because I'm here, but don't talk too heavily about the people who aren't here. But what are some of the things on the horizon that you're kind of looking forward to now as a fan, like I am, like I started as well, and as a kind of a part of this conglomerate that we are?
Yeah. Also, we should quick aside so people don't get too worried. I'm still going to be showing up sometimes for holiday ups. I might edit every now and then or help with the editing. Ryan's a god and Jay's really good at it. So like I'm probably not going to mess with that kitchen recipe too much. And I'm still going to be on the social media helping with that shit. So don't worry.
Absolutely.
I'm not leaving Torchlit Tavern. I'm
right.
just not going to be in the next campaign. I'm just to make sure everyone's
in case you're freaking out, this is not me telling you that Randall's leaving Torchlit Tavern as a brand, as a company, let's say.
Yeah.
But
Jay can't fit me behind the woodshed. He's too short and I'm too tall.
But
sorry,
he is definitely, he's still with us on Twitch. He's still with us on Twitter and all the other social medias and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He's still a part of a part of the whole zigzaggedy wigwag.
They can't get rid of me. I'm annoying.
Even if we wanted to, he'd still be a fan.
Yeah.
Which,
some fuckers.
Love him for it. Love him for it. Even if we were like, get out of here, he'd be like, all right, but I'm going to still listen, you bitches.
Yeah. It's throw him out of the bar and then you see him sitting in the bar. Yeah. But on the horizon, some of the big things that were left unfinished, unfinished at the end of the last campaign that as a listener I've been gushing about for so long with Jay privately and you guys. Azazel and his story, the tiefling kingdom that we kind of touched on, we're at war with those fuckers now, and that's not just gonna be us, that's not just gonna be Griffinport and all that shit, that's gonna be like, this is gonna be like World War level shit. Those fuckers have gunpowder. Yeah, that's gonna be huge. No matter how much, even if it's only like a year into the future, for fuck's sake, like that is huge. That's like, fuck's sake, look at our fucking world and see what happened when gunpowder got introduced.
I mean, and let's talk about we talked briefly about that tiefling kid we found in Golem, like people, batteries, and machines. Where does that technology come from? Where does it go? Where does it come from? Cotton Eye Joe, you know what I'm saying? It's like there's definitely a lot of things that are like, what's next for that? Definitely. Oh god.
And also, like, there's so many hooks. With Jay, Jay's gonna be exploring all this shit. He's bastard.
You know what? And honestly, another one you put me on right now is Azazel's story, because we did hear some of it. Heck, we even had those couple episodes where Azazel's dad came in. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Oh, and I fucked that shit up too. Oh, I pissed that guy off. I wasn't supposed to say his name, and I said it out loud multiple times.
Yeah, like that's a whole thing too. So like, how is that going to have an effect on everything?
That's a fallen god. That is Lucifer, essentially. Like, Azazel is quote unquote Lucifer. That's his dad, who's an asshole. We're fucked. We're all fucked.
I mean, a lot of questions there. And like, and are we, right? Because at the end of the day, he made an offer to you, which was relatively innocuous. Like, how fucked are we with that guy? Like, where does he sit? What's he trying to do? What are his motives? Are we not fucked at all? Is he the secret good guy in this whole thing? Because that's the kind of shit Jay might do.
I'm not going to tell it. I got some insider information. I'm not going to tell it to the viewers, but I almost made a deal with that guy at one point during a very stressful moment in RP. I was messaging Jay, and I was like, I might do it. And and he's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, I might do it. And he was like, oh shit. And I was like, I gotta see how this plays out. And luckily I have, you guys, an amazing cast of characters that are badass to make sure that I didn't do the dumb again. But it was close, man. It was so close. And Jay told me what type of pack to prep for, and I actually had it built in my phone just in case, off the D&D Beyond accounts.
Yeah.
So you guys wouldn't see it.
Smart move.
When that guy shows up, because I know that fucker's around the corner hiding. He's like that asshole friend of yours that's like, oh, he's bringing up the pizza, I'm gonna scare him. And it's like, fuck! You know that guy. Everyone has one.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, God damn it, is Rob around? you know.
Is Rob around? No, he's good. Walk around the corner, cheese pizza in the air. God's dead. If I have a flying cheese pizza, I'm pissed.
You know what? That's fair. I'm not even debate that. Yeah, we do definitely have so much. This is such a that in and of itself is a real sword of Damocles that just hangs over our heads, and like that, and not even our heads. Well, like kind of our heads, like
the world, like
the world's heads. Yeah, like absolutely.
Jay didn't set up one sword; it's the fucking armory of Damocles above us.
Yeah, you know what? It's like Damocles and what's his name? Gilgamesh had a baby.
Yeah,
you know, like the worst.
I love it.
Like, but I love it. I can't wait to see where it goes, and I personally am so excited to play in what happens next. You know, I'm getting ready to introduce this new character and settle down what's going on with that. Oh, it's gonna be a whole thing.
I cannot wait for this shit.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it.
I set you guys to get so fucked by my actions, and now I don't have to deal with the consequences.
You know what? You son of a bitch.
I was the one fucking with gods and devils and shit, and now I'm out.
But, yeah, I was just messing with Faye.
Yeah, the season.
And now Grimm's out there just controlling some of them, like approximately a quarter of them.
Ultimate showdown time, Grimm versus Azazel. Buy your tickets Sunday.
I'd pay to watch. I'd pay to watch.
Good money.
Heck, I'd pay to play even. Let's go.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Jay, you heard that. You can make some money, buddy.
Hey, 25 cents.
25. Good edit. I thought you said Ryan could edit these. That's wild.
No, definitely.
We should probably wrap up soon. It's getting
late. It is definitely getting late, and we're definitely moving towards that time. Let's wrap up by saying let me first off say, Randall, of course, it's a pleasure to have you here, and we'll definitely have you back again.
It's a pleasure to be on, buddy.
I know that you've talked to the team about potentially having your own show on our little Twitch network here weekly.
I'm a partner on the Twitch network, on the Torchlit network, actually.
But if that is something that you end up doing, we'll definitely make sure we plug it on all the social medias. And in the meantime, obviously you can find him at Argo Omega. He's on the Twitter all the time. I think I want to finish with this just last little question, which is plain and simple. What's your favorite thing about D&D? And that's not a simple question, not a simple answer, but give it to me as succinctly as you can. What's your favorite thing? Not even about D&D. What's your favorite thing about tabletop role playing?
The favorite thing of mine when it comes to tabletop role play is the friendship you get along the way. Jeff, we kind of knew of each other before we started playing together. I didn't know Ryan at all before the campaign started. I knew Mitch and Jay, but we didn't hang out a ton. We hung out every now and then for lunches or whatever after they got off work. And I have to say, you guys are some of my closest friends, and that came in thanks to Torchlit, the campaign, just talking shit, and memeing on Mitch in the group chat. Like, tabletop role play, I know this is cliche, brings us the fuck together because we're all weird and different motherfuckers, but we're all good friends.
Hey, you're not wrong. Definitely is one of my favorite things about tabletop role playing in general as well. Though I will say I've heard many horror stories where it does exactly the opposite. You make enemies. But
my first ever D&D experience, my DM, fuck that guy. That guy was a fucking awful person. Holy
Sometimes
shit.
It does that. Sometimes you find out when you play at a table with people, you're like, I hate this guy. Who
damn.
makes this kind of character? But
yeah, and when it's the DM, fuck, I have to play here.
Well, I guess I'm not gonna play in this game anymore. I just TPK'd myself, bitch. I'm out.
Yeah, I did that after a few years. I wanted to play D&D.
Well, with desperate times, I guess.
Yeah.
With that being said, like I said, thank you for showing up, Randall.
Of course,
You're great.
man. Happy to be here, man.
And you can catch us next week. Might be a bit messy because I will be out of town with Katie.
Actually, they should just follow us on Twitch so they can be alerted every time we go live with a new episode of No Dice or Wacko Mundo or whatever else that might show up on Torchlit Tavern.
Absolutely, they should. Absolutely. Don't forget to follow and to help us get to that point where we can get those sweet subscribers. Help blow us up if you can. We're just trying to grow. We're trying to get better. We're trying to make better content for each and every one of you and your beautiful faces out there. So if you're not following the Twitch, follow the Twitch. If you're not following the Twitter, follow the Twitter. And if you're not following the YouTube, follow the YouTube. And with that being said, thanks for joining us. Don't forget, tell good stories. Have a great night.
Stories.